Professor Patrick, why do you think people watch The Daily Show or The Colbert Report? And why do you think that might distort their perception of how the reality really is?
I have mixed feelings about The Daily Show and The Colbert Report, because on the one hand, I think what they did, if you separate it out from this sort of genre blending thing that they do, I think that they stepped into the mix at a time when our traditional media failed us, and it became so painfully apparent that our media was in the pocket of big business and corporations and wasn't really there to look out for the majority of us anymore, that The Daily Show kind of like found this little niche that it fit into, and I think that's why it became so wildly popular. So I think that was a good thing in a way, and I think this is what Jeff Bain would say, is that what it actually did was it sort of reinvigorated the discourse in this country to where we all of a sudden could say, there is something that's real and something that's good and something that's bad. See, I think what happened over the last 10 years is when Bush was in office, I think that postmodernism sort of got swept into Bush's administration, to where postmodernism, the first ideas of that were all about somehow that this was going to set us free, that the idea that there's not one reality was going to make us all free, and egalitarian, that if I'm a black man in Philadelphia, I have a very different reality from being a Hopi Indian living somewhere in the Southwest, and that's okay, that there's all these different sort of realities. But what happened was that idea, and of course I'm overly simplifying postmodernism, but that general idea sort of got into culture and then was sort of hijacked by this certain group of people and then utilized in a way to where they said, well, it just depends on what you believe in. So you believe in global warming, but I don't believe in global warming. To where then everything stopped being about reality and started being about opinion, and then media followed suit in this, to where media basically said, okay, well, this person says that evolution didn't happen, and this person says it did, or this person says stem cells don't help, or this person says they do. I'm using, obviously, the most sort of explosive, political issues that have come up with it, but you can see how it plays out, this whole notion of if there is no real reality, and reality is this fractured thing, that there are many kinds of reality that we can subscribe to, then in the end it doesn't matter, because you just sort of get what you just sort of grab any reality that you feel comfortable with, and if that reality happens to be watching Fox News, then that's your reality. So then to sort of push this argument a little further, then in the end, what happens with the Internet is you have this sort of tribalism that begins to happen, to where people can watch something like Fox News or, say, Free Republic, which is a very conservative blog, to get basically just their version of reality, to where they don't have to hear anything that would contradict or challenge their version of reality. And maybe on the other side, liberals and progressives would have something like Daily Kos or America Blog or one of these, Atrios, one of these guys, and that would be their version of reality, and they wouldn't hear anything sort of contradicting it. So what ends up happening is that all of a sudden everything becomes sort of, in the same way that I said that, institutionally it starts to become like an attention deficit disorder, in the same way also in the apparatus seems to lead itself to this sense of tribalism. Now, it's not always a bad thing. Sometimes it's a good thing. I grew up in a small town in Texas listening to punk rock music and could never find punk rock music or people that listened to it when I was growing up. Now, if I was in that same situation, I would have a whole group of people through the Internet, or probably a more telling example, if you were a gay kid in Nebraska,
Right.
and you need to find somebody that kind of thought how you thought or had that same sort of reality that you were dealing with. So anyway, I think what the Daily Show did to once again make a very short story very long is that the Daily Show essentially said, well, wait a minute, yeah, okay, maybe there's multiple realities, but that's what the Daily Show really did. I mean, at its very core. And then beyond that, it like started to mix entertainment and news, and really sort of became this other thing. Here in Chicago, I'm sure you've read what is it, the Red Eye?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So this is a newspaper that's sort of built around the idea of feeding media to young people,
yep.
you know? And I think that's what kind of the Daily Show fits into the same sort of idea, that something is not just news anymore. Mm-hmm. And ironically, it hasn't been for a long time. It's just we have this illusion that it was news,
right.
you know? But in the end, if your news is, say, MSNBC, which is owned by General Electric, then, you know, and what they're reporting on actually somehow suits General Electric's agenda, then it's perhaps not news in the traditional sense of it. So now they've just sort of embraced this to where it's like, okay, well, it's news, it's entertainment, it's viral videos in some cases, it's you know, it's marketing, it's a lot of different things at one time.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Do you watch The Daily Show or The Colbert Report?
Not as much as I want to. I always love their stuff, but my problem with them, which I guess I didn't mention earlier, is or my worry is that they can begin to make us cynical, mm-hmm. To where we don't care. But I don't. But this colleague of mine that studies them says, well, there's a difference between cynicism and skepticism.
Okay.
And skepticism is actually a very healthy thing, you know, because it makes us ask questions and sort of look for the truth, mm-hmm. whereas cynicism basically shuts down any kind of meaningful dialogue. So this is the argument that he and I have, and I'm not totally convinced that it creates cynics out of us all, mm-hmm. but I'm also not totally convinced that it creates skeptics out of us all.